over time, some of these decisions will move towards maybe a weighted DAO, right? We will have a say, but the community also will have a say, right? Or how do we kind of prioritize? I mean, if we have a certain fund that we create for promoting creators, right? Or creators on creators, if we have a fund for doing that, maybe the DAO, then we kind of create a sub DAO within that to say, okay, these are the people who are doing a lot of work on creators. So maybe we promote them more. And that's the way we look at it, right? So if you are giving us a lot of shout outs on creators, tomorrow when you launch your feature, we'll make sure we give it back to you.
Welcome to another episode of Who's Got Clout, here hosted on Clout Forum. I'm Mark Bentley. I'm your host here, and together with Alex Roken, my co-host over in Russia. And it is our pleasure to be bringing you the news and the latest that's happening out there in the Web 3.0 creator economy. We're living in a really exciting time where people are developing amazing new products, looking at how we can decentralize and empower creators and the developers and everyone involved. And it's amazing to see what's actually coming together in such a short time. And so it's a pleasure to introduce my next guest, who is, this gentleman has been a big player in the field of the creator economy as we're coming forward into setting up new structures and new ways of being able to make this happen. So without any hesitation, I would love to introduce my guest today, Randhir Hebbar. And Randhir, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Mark, doing well. Thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure to be here.
Randhir, I was thinking when I was just getting ready this morning. So over here in Australia, it's, I know it's a bit early for you as well. And I was sitting there thinking, Randhir, it's such a strange thing with the guests that I get to speak to on this show is I feel like I know you. I feel like we've been, we've had lots of conversations to the point of hanging out. And then I realized, hang on, that's all just been posts. That's all just been connection and chats and replies. And so it's an absolute pleasure to finally get to spend some time chatting together.
Yes, man. You've been awesome. I think you've been doing a great job. I think I've been on quite a few of your calls. So I think great job. Just keep going.
Yeah, appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So before we get into, because you have created a lot of magic and there's some really exciting things we want to talk about. The Creatiers being the key part of that. But before we jump into that, just a little bit about yourself first, because I personally have such a fascination with the people behind the products. Because to me, when you get to feel the innovator's frequency, it gives me more trust, more faith in, what they're bringing in that sense. It has that authenticity. So let's start, Randhir, with, first of all, where in the world are you? Where are you based?
I am based in Bangalore, India. So been here, so obviously, right from my childhood, I've kind of been here. Been in the IT space, sort of the consulting space for almost about 20 plus years now. Worked in a few MNCs. I started a company called Convergetics about 8 years back, actually. So we've now grown it to a multi-million-dollar company. There's a few issues going on, obviously, on the management side of things. So I think that really gave me time to kind of dive deep into DESO and obviously spend a lot of my free time while I'm dealing with the conflict. Spend more time on DESO and help out with a few projects. And I think that's really how Creatiers came about.
Yeah, fantastic. Now that's awesome, man. And so Bangalore, there's a lot of tech happening over there, isn't there?
There is. I think this is the IT hub of it's kind of called the Silicon Valley of India. That's where all the IT companies started. Now, obviously, they've moved to a few other cities as well. But I think Bangalore is where most of the big names of Infosys and TCS and all of the others started off kind of here. And pretty much, I would say, I think about 50-60% of the startups still are in Bangalore, the e-commerce startups. And I think they're all starting off from Bangalore. This is kind of the innovation capital, so to say.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that's such an important thing, right? Like having all that energy, it's like making a stew. You got to get all the ingredients close to each other if you're going to absorb some flavor. So
Very true.
Fantastic.
I think the ecosystem is great. I think there's a lot of, it's just more people, right? So you meet people around you who are kind of doing more innovative stuff. So you then get motivated to do stuff. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a great place. Obviously, the weather's great among the different cities. I think it's kind of in between. It's neither too hot in the summers, not too cold. Obviously, it's getting worse with the global warming, but yeah, I mean, it's a great place to be. I just love the city.
Yeah, fantastic. So now coming into this, so jumping straight in, because we got a lot to cover with what you're putting out there and doing in the world. So let's break down first of all, so a lot of people watching this will know when you say DESO, what that means. But for those that haven't come across, because there might be people out there that are just looking into the creator economy, Web 3.0, etc. How do you introduce DESO to people when they ask you? When they say, Randhir, what's this thing you're working on with DESO?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a great sort of platform and ecosystem. It's kind of something that's obviously DESO stands for Decentralized Social. So it's pretty much a more decentralized version of what social media is. If you think of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or any of the social platforms, Instagram. So they're all controlled by this one central organization. So obviously all of the money that, that kind of is made from your content, your data. Just take this video, for example, right? So a very, very small portion, eventually when you reach scale, starts hitting your bank accounts. But in decentralized social, I think it's different because with every post that you make, you can actually make money. It could be through diamonds. You have your own social token, so you can actually make money through that. You can actually, with a lot of the dApps that are coming up, for one example is Creatiers, you can actually launch your services on it, and then your friends and your followers, and that's really the social aspect of it, right? Your friends and your followers can actually promote you. So that way you're almost, it's like your LinkedIn, but on like this Octane sort of push that you have, so that you can actually, your friends can help you grow. And as they grow, they will also benefit because they would have invested in your token. So as your token grows, I think they also make money. So it's really, empowering creators, so to say. So if you're a creator, and I think the creator definition is quite wide, right? So it initially started off with mostly digital artists. But today, people who are doing podcasts, people who are, helping put content out in terms of posts or even writing Medium blogs. It could be coaches, people, doing, say, videos on yoga or health and, spirituality. It could be anyone, right? It could be someone like me who's into more consulting, right? So I can actually start putting out videos on specific topics, and I could then, pretty much start, making money. And for all even people who are posting on Twitter, obviously you get nothing from Twitter other than likes. But with with some of the decentralized social apps that are coming out, you can actually put posts, and if you really put something intriguing out, someone might like it, might give out what they call diamonds. So that really translates into dollars, because that the DESO can be converted into dollars, right? So it is pretty powerful. I think it's just starting off in quite a few different social platforms. DESO is one of them, and so we are very excited. So that's how we've started to build on DESO.
Randhir, as I'm listening, I'm thinking this is gold. I think, you didn't even say blockchain. You didn't say all these crypto terms and things that I know that I find myself saying, because I want to explain the architecture. I want to explain the foundation because I'm so excited about it. And I think this is a mistake a lot of us can make, right? Where we go out to the mainstream, to the people, to the creators, to the ones who are going to actually use it. And we need to use their language. And you beautifully summarize that in that language. So I appreciate that.
I think that's really one important thing. So because I think especially with cryptos, there's a lot of fear. I think especially in India, I think there's a new legislation that's come out, and there's a lot of fear about taxation and regulation and how you might actually be attacked by the tax authorities and stuff like that. So people hesitate, right? But then if you kind of look at it more from what it really drives, the innovation, the creator economy, and really focus on that, I think then the crypto is just almost like like an enabler, right? It's really not the core of the platform. It's an enabler. Tomorrow you could actually be doing it using US dollars. For example, even with Creatiers, one of the thoughts is, if it really becomes a limitation, maybe we could just switch to US dollars, just use DESO for the for the social aspect of it, right? So eventually I think it will come towards that. Maybe you still have to fund it with a little bit of DESO for the transactions, but maybe bulk of the money flows into the dollar or the rupee or whatever, right? So we could drive towards that depending on how the regulations go. So I think it's more important to focus on the creator economy and the features that are getting added.
Yeah, I hear you. So that's a really good point. That you're right. That there is this kind of tendency when we're in these innovative periods to think it's either this or that, and it can't be this in between, centralized or decentralized. Whereas we're seeing on DESO with the new features and things that they're kind of moving towards a bit of a blend of yes, you can be completely decentralized, but you can also incorporate centralization where important. So it is that open-mindedness. So it's beautiful having someone like yourself, Randhir, bringing this attitude and this kind of wisdom with your consulting wisdom to the community. So now jumping straight in, let's go straight into to Creatier. Tell us a little bit about Creatier. Like what led you to starting up on that? And in fact, Randhir, how did you come to DESO in the first place, the Decentralized Social Network? Maybe let's start there. Then let's move into Creatier of what you built on it.
Sure. No, maybe, I mean, I missed this part in the introduction as well, right? So a little bit about my personal life. Obviously, I have a family with 3 kids. The older girl, my daughter is about 9, and my twin boys are 5 years old. So they've kind of obviously been twin boys, yeah, and they've obviously been kind of especially over the last couple of years, I've actually been having a bit of an issue within the company that I'm part of, where there's a founder conflict that's going on. So that really was keeping me occupied with all the legal issues and all of that for pretty much from I think November 2020. That's been going on. Wow. The first few months were mostly all the legal issues and going through all of that and stuff. So around that time, I was kind of being prevented from working within my own company. So around the time, obviously, I had a lot of time. And I think I saw Dharmesh's post. So Dharmesh's tweet, rather. I think sometime it was around the end of March, early April, end of March, actually. I saw his post. It just looked interesting. I said, okay, let me just come in and take a look. Obviously, I got the $1 or $2, whatever they give to create the profile. I got that created, but then I saw that every post, there was a lot of activity, but there was not really, I didn't know what to do with it, right? But then a couple of weeks later, Dharmesh did another post where I think he explained it a little bit, and that really got me in. So if you see my activity between April 1st and April 15th, there's actually literally nothing that I did. I probably came in, looked around, just looked at it, and then I think after April 15th is when I really became active. And so I think it's that really got me in. And I think when we joined, obviously there was a lot more activity than there is today, because it was a lot more hype around DESO, and there's a lot of the BitClout boys, going all over, so to say. And, there's a lot of activity at that time. But especially that's also the time, I met a lot of friends. There's a lot of groups that are getting formed, and Telegram groups, and, people helping each other out. And because we were all starting off with 0 followers, it was our way of, trying to say, how do we, collaborate, help each other out with every post, help each other out. And that's how I think I met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. And I think along the way, that's where I think I met Jeff and Scott. They were part of this initial group that that we formed. I think that group is still quite active. Incidentally, I think there's about 15-20 people there. Every one of them is still active, so we've kind of been able to keep that group together, and and keep them going and stuff. So I think that's how we got started. And I think along the way, I think just going into the second part of your question on Creatiers, along the way, that's where I think we we kind of were discussing what are some of the gaps in the resource space, right? So I think NFTs got launched. So there's a lot of buzz around digital artists. Obviously, digital artists started making money. So our question was, what about the other people? What about musicians? What about coaches? What about, consultants like us? What about developers? there's really not enough for them in terms of monetization. Yeah, they can make money on founder rewards. They can make money on maybe on trades, right? But not everyone is into trading creator coins. So how do they make money? How do they really grow? And that's really from where we said, okay, we need to create another option to kind of drive to help these creators, right? That's really where it started off. And it was more about creators, as in, cheering creators, right? The top tier would be the ones that make the most money, that get the most push. And then obviously the next year, right? So we started off with just, the first feature we listed was a directory where we started listing all the creators, then categorizing them so that if someone asks me who are the musicians on DESO, they can pretty much go to Creatiers and access the musicians directory and see all the musicians there. They can then click on that profile, check them out, view their posts, and then maybe connect to them on Creatiers itself, or go back to one of the DESO apps and access them. So that's how we started off. And I think last week, a couple of weeks back, I think we launched the project feature, or the offer feature, right? So where you can actually list out your features, and the offer is quite a broad term. It's not really just a specific project. It could be, for example, for your own show, you could actually list a shout out. I think one of the first offers that got picked up was that somebody actually was does a gaming podcast, so they listed out an offer of a shout out during the show. So just saying this show is sponsored by so and so. So they listed that offer, somebody picked it up, and that kind of got them some money in terms of an offering, and they got their first offering. So now they've gone ahead and listed another 5 or 6 things, a rolling ticker at the bottom, and stuff like that, right? So it could be that, it could be anything else. I think there's a lot of options that we've now started seeing there. I think we're just getting started. Obviously the activity, as the activity picks up on the DESO platform, we're hoping we can ride that wave.
It's exciting to hear, how people are, pardon me, how people are innovating and coming up with these ideas. So what I'm hearing, Randhir, is really you're creating the framework to people put themselves forward, to be able to put forward offers of saying, well, hey, this is what I want to put out. So rather than Facebook, where I know, as an ex-coach myself with personal development and spirituality and things like this, a lot of my work was reliant on Facebook. I was so reliant on, paying for, getting a page set up. But because it's a page, it means you have to also pay for advertising if you want to get seen. If you want that, then you have to do this. And then even then, I have to sell tickets through Eventbrite, or I have to sell, transactions on PayPal, or go through all this complicated and engage. And it was very heavy with bureaucracy in a sense. Whereas what I'm getting excited about when I hear and talk to so many people getting involved in DESO is exactly what you're putting forward here with Creatiers. This idea that we can really, create that automated system, really, that where, between the creator itself, I get to decide what I want to offer, and then everyone gets to decide what they want to take part in. And I think what's amazing about this, Randhir, is it's connecting people from all over the world. Because like you said, you can buy creator coins, you can trade those things, you can get into, but you still need capital to begin that journey, right? You still need some money that's spare to be able to invest in and know how to do that. Whereas with Creatiers, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, so with Creatiers, someone who's watching this podcast right now who say, for example, I know quite a few psychics out there who do amazing, like trippy work, and they've got a good fan base. They could literally visit Creatiers. So I'll have the link under here, creatiers.co, and that'll be on the podcast who's watching it now. So if you go visit that, can they sign up an account directly on Creatiers, a DESO profile, or will they need to go through another?
Yeah, no, I think they can sign up. So if they are new to the DESO world, I think they can sign up using, I think DESO also has a Google sign up form, right? So they can sign up on DESO. I think there's an option to first sign up, so then they get a login, and then they can log into Creatiers, the profile actually picks up from your DESO profile. So if you already created a profile somewhere else on Diamond app or one of the other apps, it actually picks up the description and everything from there. but you can actually create the profile on Creatiers as well, and then list your offers and get going. I think you said coaches, right? So that's really what we are trying to do today. What happens on Facebook or Instagram and Eventbrite and then PayPal, pretty much all of it now comes onto Creatiers, right? So there's a little bit of a dependency today on some of the other diamond apps, and it's a small team, right? It's a team of, I think, me and another couple of developers who are working on it. So it has been not as fast as we want. But yeah, I think we're making progress. I think we want to get to a stage where all of this happens on Creatiers, and you pretty much are able to do everything in one place, so to say. I think we're starting off with the offer feature, which is the Fiverr equivalent of what but over time will also become like an Upwork, right? So the Upwork is the other side, where if you have a project, you can come in and list it, and then all the creators can then look at it. And so we started off with the Fiverr option because we realized that it's more creators today on DESO, right? So we wanted to first get a base of maybe 500, 600 people who are listing out their offers. I think today we have about 50 plus offers already listed on Creatiers. So we want to get that to maybe 200, 300, 400, so that then tomorrow, if somebody is looking for a logo designer, they come into Creatiers, they should have 10 options. It shouldn't be like, okay, this is the only guy that listed, I have to work with him or no one else, right? So today, I think we have about 4 or 5, 3 or 4 logo designers. We want to get that number to like 15, 20 or so that clients then have a choice. And that's when we'll go and try to get the outside world in on the client side. Right. So try to put a lot of marketing dollars behind it to say, let's get more clients in, so that then all the people who are listing as creators then get listed. And that's really where I would also encourage. I think the link is down below. So do sign up, do list out here, especially if you're already on DESO. I think it's going to be a lot more smoother. Do sign up, list out the offers that you have. And your offers could be anything, right? Like I said, it could be shout outs, it could be 1 hour consulting. If you're into personal coaching, like like Marcus, maybe personal branding coaching or health. I think I've had people who do yoga sessions who have got listed there, right? So there's actually a health coach who's listed her, 1 hour session on advising you on your diet, right? So there are different kinds of people that are getting listed there. So essentially, if you are into any of these consulting, coaching, creations, so you really can get yourself listed there. And don't expect magic, because the DESO platform and economy is still quite small, but we are setting the foundation, so to say, right? So if you get yourself listed today, we'll also get to know that what are the kind of skills being offered. So we can then go and try to push for those kind of offers and those kind of clients for those kind of offers to then come through. So I think the earlier you list, the greater your chance of getting paid. And that's the way I would put it.
Yeah. Well summarized. And I think that's, it's this early adopter advantage that often I find myself, it's this thing, Randhir. I mean, like, I guess everyone who's involved in DESO in the first year shares this similar archetype of loving being on that bleeding edge of innovation, right? Where it's like, the birth of a child, the contractions, the intensity, where then you just have to breathe and calm down, and then everything is ecstatic and amazing, and then the intensity, and then there's a lack of sleep, and then the baby smiles and you fall in love again. It's almost like that, right? With innovation and this process. And it really feels like we've gone through the first contractions, and with like Creatiers and other innovations like this, it feels like we're ready for that next phase. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the kind of people that we're kind of ready to come in now. Because I feel like, like even just the way you described DESO, Randhir, without using blockchain, without using those words, and our conversation up to this point, I really feel like, this is a great opportunity for those who haven't yet got engaged in this, new world of crypto, new world of decentralization and things, without needing to go into that, to check out creatiers.co, set themselves up a profile and get themselves in there. And like you say, Randhir, rather than going in there thinking that you can just, make an instant living by tomorrow, but rather think of it in a sense of investing in helping co-create the platform by taking part, by you get to shape, because obviously as a creator, if you come on board right now, you get to be working with Randhir and the team, by showing them the kind of things you want there, so they can actually make sure they create the platform as perfect as possible, right? And then it means you're positioned in a really great place for when, like you say, Randhir, once you've got enough people on that platform and you open the doors to the public, then they'll be able to come straight in. So I think just really wanted to reinforce that for anyone watching, that it can be a little painful to get involved in these things early because you might have all these expectations and different things. I mean, Randy, I think we've all gone through it, right? But there's such an amazing opportunity right now that I really want to encourage. If you've got a little, if you're curious and you've got some creativity in your belly, then jump in. But do you have any words, Randhir, for people like what kind of people would you say are you looking for?
No, I think that's really you summarized it amazingly well. I don't know what to add. So essentially, there's two parts, right? So if you think of it at the protocol level, all of us are the users, right? So you, me, and Alex, and we are the users who are giving feedback to Nader and the rest of the core team to in terms of what do we need as a product, as somebody. So what are the kind of features we need? What kind of support do we need? And as developers of platforms, what are the kind of support we need from them? What kind of features do we need into the core protocol? So there's a lot of us giving that feedback. So obviously some of that feedback is being taken. They had a few challenges on their side in terms of bandwidth, so they're fixing that, and I think it is getting better. So they are taking on more feedback. So that's the first level, right? So definitely, if you are, even if you aren't a developer, I think there's a lot of people on the platform who are giving great feedback, right? So who are very actively posting on chain, on the platform, giving that feedback, giving those suggestions on what features to add, what features to not add, and really helping the core team as well as the people building the main nodes, right? It could be a Diamond app or the Social World or any of the other apps that are out there. How what kind of features need to be added so that they can then be more effective in putting out the content, right? So that's the first part. So the second part of it is really in terms of what kind of apps do you want built, right? So when we started building Creatiers, I think one of the things that we gave us the push was the positive feedback. I think if you look at some of the Discord chats that we've had, even when we launched our project feature about a month back, I think we had about 50 plus people sign up. You look at the number of people that are actually active on DESO. It's the numbers probably close to maybe 800,000 when you leave out the the duplicate accounts. And I have like 3 or 4 accounts, right? Project accounts and stuff like that. If you remove all of that, you're probably looking at about 1,800 to 1,000 people. Out of that, can you imagine 50 people actively volunteered to try out the feature, give feedback, and we've got so much feedback that we were overwhelmed because we have only one senior developer and one junior guy who's kind of working on it. We got overwhelmed with the feedback. In fact, all of the feedback is not even fixed, right? We fixed about 60-70% of that we fixed. Some of them were most major features. So we're still trying to do that every week and trying to push at least 2 or 3 features out every week and stuff like that. But I think the feedback we got was so amazing. I think just the community that's kind of got built around it. And each time someone makes money, the feedback that we get, saying, thank you for creating Creatiers. Thank you for doing this for us. I mean, because the entire ecosystem is suddenly, with the NFTs launch especially, the entire ecosystem became about, PFPs and NFT artists who are doing digital art, right? So all of them made a lot of money. There was a lot of money invested in those. I don't want to name a project and but essentially there's a lot of money that got pumped into some projects, right? A few other projects also benefited from it. But what about all the other creators? I know at least about 100 plus musicians who came into the platform who were very active during the April, May, June period. Some of them are still active, right? So Tim is there, and he's a very close friend of mine. So there's a lot of people who've come in and who've somehow managed to stay active, but we know that they're not happy, right? So they see all this NFT art kind of making money, but there's nothing else for them, right? So something like Mosai, which is the music streaming platform, that's kind of something that's cool, that's coming up, which is giving them an avenue to make some money and get some, get some visibility in a sense, right? It's not also just about money. It's about maybe, building a fan base, building something for them so that they know that there's some focus on them. People want to feel recognized. People want to feel that love, right? So it's really about that. I think that's where the core team also should pick it up, right? So maybe it's not really about throwing money at different creators. It's just about saying we value you, we value your contribution, we are going to, do something for you. And these are, I mean, in effect, the core team is doing it the right way, right? Because by investing in a Creatiers or a Mosai or different apps that are there, so they are actually enabling the other creators to also make money. But it's more the messaging. Maybe they just need to come out and bring that out more often and show that. But I think that's where I think there's a lot of love that we are getting on Creatiers, and that's really keeping us going, right? So it's kind of a bootstrapped setup. We did get a small grant from the Octane Fund to kind of accelerate the development. But I think the love from the community is what's really keeping us going.
Whenever I hear that, it's because you're touching on lots of things there, Randhir, and one of the core things that just hits me right in the feels is that connection. It's community, right? It's what I fell in love. It's like if people watching this podcast will get sick of seeing me raise this up and show this tattoo. But this is, for those that don't know, this is BitClout symbol, right? Now, I would never tattoo a logo or a brand on my body, ever. But it was the community. It was the connection. It was the love that was being felt by all kinds of characters all over the world, where we all came together and just were building and creating and celebrating. And it was almost like the digital crypto Woodstock, in a sense, kind of in our first year through this. And it is such a special thing because, in the last 2 years, Randy, we've seen, this COVID chaos that's gone through the world. And it's not just COVID, it's really shown so many of the weaknesses in our society have come to the surface. And one of the things that I think is being shown more than anything is that as humans, we are starved of real, authentic, genuine connection. And with Creatiers, what you're creating here, like it's exciting because it really is. And to hear that you are getting that experience, the creators that are working with you, that are jumping on the platform, that they've got that gratitude, that they don't have that, you get that old school customers always right, McDonald's kind of attitude where you get these asshole customers that get away with absolute murder in these places. It's so beautiful to see the developers, the innovators, the founders, the creators, everyone working together and feels like on a more flat playing field. So it's really inspiring.
Very true, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I think just to add to that, I think when we are building it, right? So today at this stage, like I said, we are bootstrapped. So even if you're a developer who has some time, for example, right? So you're a developer who has some time, who wants to see a feature on Creatiers. So the way we want to move towards, right? So essentially is in the end have someone who has an idea for Creatiers should be able to come in and maybe even build with us, build that feature out with us. For example, I think there's a person who was building out a messenger. So we kind of encouraged him and said, if once you've kind of built out your feature, if you want to integrate that. So right now the messaging on Creatiers is still offline on email, right? So we want to eventually move that into the platform, right? So we kind of encourage him to say, why don't you come in and build with us so that that feature can become an integral part of Creatiers. So that's really how we want to move towards and accelerate it. Obviously, we're looking at doing a funding round probably in the next 2 or 3 months. We want to do another big round of funding. But irrespective of that, we want to encourage this whole thing about this being built by the community, right? So if one side of it is all the feature suggestions, ideas, and I want this feature, I want that feature, I would love to have this, that kind of thing that gives us a lot of inputs on prioritization. If a lot of people are asking for this one feature, maybe it is more important, right? And obviously, if it's not a lot of effort, then we kind of prioritize it. So we have a 2x2 matrix, right? High priority, high low on effort. Obviously, we get it done right away. If it's medium priority and low effort, we again get it done so that we can kind of keep the changes kind of coming through. So we have that prioritization. We have listed out in a Google sheet, and everyone has visibility to it, right? So they can go look at it and say, okay, is that feature already listed? If not, they can come in and give that suggestion on our Discord, and we add it and then kind of start working on it. In our weekly sprints, we kind of review it. So ideally, I'd love for the DESO platform also to be able to do that. Obviously, they've not done it yet, but if they could do it, I think that would be amazing, right? Just imagine these 1,000+ people coming in and giving feedback to you. As a product manager, I would love it. I mean, I live and breathe products. So I would love to have 1,000 active users who are giving me suggestions. I don't have the 1,000 people. I at least have the 50 people today on the Discord who are giving me those suggestions, right? But that's still valuable. Think of, somebody
Absolutely.
starting off building a product. In the first 3 months, you have 50 people, active users who are giving you feedback very actively. They are concerned. They want to give suggestions. They're frustrated. They're frustrated that, I've given you the suggestion a month back. Why haven't you acted on it? So I, in a way, appreciate that frustration, right? Because it means that they care. They care for the product, and they care for the eventual solution that's going to come out. So, and again, big thanks to all the wonderful Creatiers community that's out there. A big shout out to you. And I think just keep that love coming. I think that's what's keeping us motivated.
Yeah. Randhir, that's beautiful. It's, to hear your attitude about that, I think it's very refreshing. And I think it will be refreshing for a lot of people that are in a similar positions, because there's a lot of people innovating and developing behind the scenes. And I can, imagine how challenging that is. I had my own experiences in different fields, and it's tough, isn't it? It's tough because, staying in that place of gratitude for the feedback, even though sometimes it doesn't come across the nicest, because people don't see what goes on in the back end. People don't see, they've got all kinds of ideas, and we're funny creatures, humans. We create all kinds of magic in those gaps of knowledge that we don't have, and it can create a lot of mischief. And so it's really nice, for people to be able to hear it from you, to hear, what the process is like on the other side, to receive that feedback and how you perceive it and how you receive it. And because, as you say, that is, because in the end, someone talked about open source and things, and they were saying, look, if you're scared to open source, then it's kind of almost like you're scared that you can't be the best, that you can't create a good enough product to compete, and it was this really interesting concept. And I love the idea that if you truly are passionate about what you do, like those 50 people that are actual creators, they are your exact market, not 1,000 people just being given a $5 gift card if they give you feedback, in which case you now have to sort through 80% of just meaningless crap just to get to those people, right? You have those 50 right there in that space. And the fact that they're passionate, I love that you say that, because so much of our life is just shifting perspective, right? From being the victim of something to being able to use it in service in some way. And really what I heard you do was just shift that perspective for a lot of people. And, when people are giving you that hard feedback that hurts a little bit, that's because they care. It means you've done something right. You've got something they want, and they want it to be as the best it can be. And I can't think of a better army. And with Creatiers, with Creator Coins, with all these things that we're doing, it's creating the mechanics to allow this to happen, right? Which brings me to the question, as you were talking, Randhir, have you looked much into, because for those that aren't aware, you might be watching this podcast, and DESO, decentralized social blockchain, and all the rest. But we've talked a lot about what that is, but there's a lot of new features constantly releasing, and one of those is the DAO. So was it decentralized autonomous organization? Did I get that right? Have you looked into that, Randhir, and have you thought about that approach with Creatiers?
Yeah, no, I think see. Yeah, no, eventually I think most projects will become DAOs. That's the way I see it, right? So incidentally, there's even Creatiers is not incorporated, right? So obviously we might have to at some point, depending on the funding and the process and everything like that. But essentially, even that's not incorporated. So it is right now like an effort that we are doing as a team. Right. So obviously the extended team is also part of the team, but then there's a core team that's working on it. And we all have kind of agreed a high level on what the structure is going to look like and stuff like that. But essentially it is right now just a team of 2 or 3 people, right? So over time, the way I look at it, there's about maybe 50, 60 people who've invested in the Creatiers coin on DESO, right? So there's obviously they put in money. We have not been able to use much of it. We've probably got about $3,000-4,000 in founder rewards, right? I think there's a lot of initial people who put a lot of money, and then that helped us in the development process, so to say, right? So the founder rewards for anyone new to the platform is something that, if someone puts in, say, $100 into your coin, there's a percentage of it which comes as a reward to the creator. So we created a creator coin for the project. And like I said, we got about $20,000 of money. So about with 20% FR, I think it translated to about $3,000 to $4,000 in founder rewards. That obviously fed into the development and getting the developers on, paid in a sense to get this platform built, right? So besides that, all of these people are still invested. So there's a lot of people who put in $20, $30, $50. So that's the beauty of the Creatiers coin, right? So if you see, there's only 2 or 3 major investors. Everyone else is a creator on the platform who's put in that $100. Maybe they just have $500 in their wallet. They have $350 on their own coin, and they have $100 on Creatiers or $50 on Creatiers. And that's kind of shows us the how much they value the platform. And that entire set of people who put in that money, we eventually want them to become part of this DAO. Obviously, the DAO feature is not fully live. There's not enough, meat in the features as yet. As the smart services come in, and there's a bit of a structure that comes into it. Today, we are doing that unofficially, if you think of it, with all the Discord chats and the features and the feedback and stuff. But there's also we are taking the feedback from the community and then building on top of it. But maybe some more important things, right? Because, for example, today we charge 5% service fee on the transactions, right? So now, should that be 5%? Should that be 10%? Or should that be 0%? And maybe, we just do it as a service from the community and just build on the transactions for some time. So some of those decisions we are today making it as a core team. Over time, some of these decisions will move towards maybe a weighted DAO, right? We will have a say, but the community also will have a say, right? Or how do we kind of prioritize? I mean, if we have a certain fund that we create for promoting creators, right? Or creators on creators, if we have a fund for doing that, maybe the DAO, then we kind of create a sub DAO within that to say, okay, these are the people who are doing a lot of work on creators. So maybe we promote them more. And that's the way we look at it, right? So if you are giving us a lot of shout outs on creators, tomorrow when you launch your feature, we'll make sure we give it back to you with interest. So all of you who are giving us that shout out, don't worry, we are watching you. And as we kind of get some of these more important features out, we will start putting a lot more money in. And obviously, like I said, if we do get funded, it's going to help us accelerate that investment much, much more, so that not just are we rewarding all the creators on Creatiers, but we also are bringing a lot more outside clients in. Because that's really where the money is going to start flowing. Because I mean, today the transactions that are happening are all from projects on Creatiers using somebody who's a social media influencer or social media consultant, right? So somebody gets an audit done and gets a consulting session done. So I've listed out a personal branding coaching session of mine where I can help out people on DESO or any other platform. And I've also listed out my data analytics consulting as an offer. So I think someone, I can't name the person because they didn't want to get listed, but they looked at my profile on Creatiers. They liked that feature and then they reached out to me. And so some of this went off platform, to be honest. And I think I know even with some of the other creators who got their first offer in, they actually had upsells on their subsequent offers. So they did make money off platform. They were nice enough even to reach out to me and say, I did get other offers. And because of this reason, the client didn't want to get listed. So I had to do it off platform. But there's a lot of activity that we are initiating. I think that's really the beauty of this solution. And Creatives is just one, right? Obviously, you've interviewed a few people in the past few weeks. There's a lot of such applications getting built, and each of us are helping each other out, because anyone who joins Creatiers can then also access Mosaic or Cloudcast or any of the other platforms that are coming through, right? So Story or, there's a lot of things that are getting built, and we are all adding on to that and almost becoming this one huge startup that's going to eventually compete with all of these big behemoths.
Randhir, it's like that. It really is. It's like this fractal. It's like this fractal of innovation that's coming together where, it's like, hey, there's just something that needs to get built here. And people build this one thing, then someone builds something else, and it all seems separated in the beginning, right? But then as it goes, they start linking together. And you see this with Web 2.0, right? With like Facebook, consuming every company they can find, like between, Messenger, what do you call it? WhatsApp. and the kinds, Instagram, where they just start connecting everything together. Except, like you beautifully explained at the beginning of this podcast, DESO makes it so that there's no centralized power like Facebook that does that. Instead, we get to connect it all organically, right? Where it naturally fits. And that's something that has blown my heart wide open, even in the way that you yourself have just given shout outs to what some people could say is a kind of competition. But, really, it's like, this is the attitude that we're seeing. This is the way. This is the people that are coming together and really supporting each other. So I really appreciate everything you bring, Randhir, to the platform with your wisdom. Like, we've only talked for, this short period of time, but in that, I hope people have seen the love that you have for what you're doing, and as well as the wisdom, the experience that you are not coming in, just with a great idea and no backing. You're coming in with some very serious experience and very grounded vision. And I know it inspires me. And, there's room right now. We're at the very early stages for everyone. And I love what you're doing with Creatiers. Now, I can't go much further because I'm going to hand it over to Alex, who's got some great questions for you, Randhir. But I know already, just in our conversation together, this is, to be honest, Randhir, this is one of my excuses for doing the podcast, is just so I can make time to talk to my favorite people and work out what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be checking it out and looking at it, because I'm feeling the urge to get more back into my spirituality, my connection and guidance in that side, and finding how I can integrate that into DESO. So I'll definitely be checking out Creatiers and also your offerings, my friend. So thanks for your time with me here. And
Awesome.
Alex.
No, I think you should
Awesome.
list it out. I think we'd love to have you listed on Creatiers, and then we'll give you the shout out and the push to get you some good contracts maybe as well. So do check it out.
Awesome, Randhir. We can have some fun together. That's what I love. We can have fun together, support each other, get it all out. We just keep this cranking. And please, we're not done yet. Alex has got some awesome questions, so stay tuned and keep listening. But we'll have a few words at the end. And thanks so far, Randhir. All right, Alex, all yours.
Thank you, Mark. That was just incredible to listen to your story and what Creatiers is bringing to the DESO world, and the value behind it is very important for the ecosystem, as I see it. But first of all, I'd like to explore your personality and your experience. And you have quite a big experience in business, which can't be ignored by me. And my first question is going to be about it. So you are living in Bangalore, and Bangalore is the most advanced place in India for IT companies to thrive. And you've been here for a long time. And I'm wondering, do all startups working there belongs to Indian founders, or there is some share of founders who came from abroad?
Yeah, no, I think to be honest, obviously there's a lot of IT companies there, right? So if you look at the large companies that are there there's quite a few companies that are started by Indians. But eventually, I think if you think of it, every large Indian company is probably today listed on NASDAQ or NYSE or whatever, right? So in that sense, there's a lot of most of these are MNCs that are owned by people across the globe, right? That's one part. So the second part of it is, even if you look at the Googles and the Adobes and whatever of the world, right? Quite a few of them are now kind of run by Indians. So I think it's kind of short answer, yes, maybe most of the companies are started by Indians, but in the end, the ownership is probably spread across the globe. And the Indians are anyway dominating. I think the tech leadership space, so to say, right? You look at Dharmesh from HubSpot, or you look at, Satya Nadella from Microsoft, or you look at Sundar Pichai from Google. I think pretty much everyone is kind of the Indian in that sense, right? Or Indian origins. I don't know how if they call themselves Indians, but they are from they do have Indian roots. So in that sense, I think there is obviously a bit of a greater one. But the other side of it is there's a lot of MNCs that are set up based in Bangalore. So if you, pretty much you look at any, tech giant, so to say, from the global world, right? So they do have an office or headquarters or the Indian headquarters is there in Bangalore. So in that sense, I think there's a lot of people that are there. I think, and uh, today, I think there's still a good majority of the leadership in those centers is still Indian, but I have started seeing a lot more, non-Indian sort of people on the streets. I mean, if you see, maybe looked at it maybe about 10 years back, you would not see any sort of foreigners outside in on the streets, right? But today, I think you've started seeing that. Obviously, COVID has kind of hit us a little badly, and people have probably gone back to their hometowns or home countries and stuff. But I think there has been a lot more people have started shifting to, head the Bangalore division, and started doing that. A lot of Chinese people have started coming in. For example, the Xiaomi sort of the tech center is in India, right? So a lot of and they were one of our clients with my previous company. So when I used to go to their office, we used to see a lot of the Chinese people there who've come in from the headquarters, who've come into Bangalore and who've started working with the Indian team that's there. So that has started happening. So in that sense, I think there's MNCs that have shifted base to Bangalore so that all the tech work can happen from Bangalore instead of maybe, or in addition to whatever's happening in their hometown. But I think, yeah, if you look at all the big names, I think they are still started by Indians. I think they're still probably in the 15, 20 year sort of range, right? So most of these companies started in the late 90s, early 2000s. So in that sense, it's only about 15, 20 years old. But over time, I'm hoping that, maybe someone comes in and actually starts a company in Bangalore, maybe for the talent.
First of all, I'd like to say that you totally deserve the position of Bangalore spokesperson. The way you described it and promoted it, it's just insane in a good way. And yeah, my question was about the topic that Bangalore is a huge hub for IT companies in a regional level. So it's not only for India, it's for all countries that next to the India for sure. And like you said, there are a lot of Chinese companies coming to Bangalore, and I assume that Saudi Arabia has some influence there as well. And this place is just incredible. The way it was built, the way it's operating, and the way you promote your talents to Google, Microsoft, and other companies is just insane as well. Just kidding, but I mean, yeah. There is definitely some sort of help and support to each other that exists in your community, in your enclave, and that's just incredible. The way it's just a pure, vivid example for everyone, for every nation to do.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to ask you next question, which derives from what you said. Yeah, and you said that there are a lot of Indians in giant tech companies right now, and it's absolutely true, and they're doing a fascinating job, and they totally deserve the place they have. And my question is about the news that was published during the previous week, and it is said that India government is adopting national digital currency and admitting cryptocurrency to be a legit instrument in financial markets. What's your expectations about it? And should we afraid of the next wave of outstanding India startups in the field of Web3? We all know Polygon, for example.
No, I think it's definitely a positive move, because I think there was some fear around, cryptos getting banned and, stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a positive move. They've kind of called out, I think there'll actually be India will have its own digital cryptocurrency, right? So that's definitely a positive, because that will kind of spread a lot of, innovation in the sort of the Web3 crypto space, right? So a lot of companies I know a few companies who are building out of India, but then almost with half a foot in Singapore or in Dubai or something like that, because of the fear of the regulations. Now that, there's no ban, so those people will probably continue to remain in India. A lot of companies will start building out from India, right? So that's definitely a positive. I have not gone into depth on the taxation side of it, to be honest, but I think they're kind of looking at it as a normal asset trading sort of tax, right? So if you make $100 on trading an asset, you pay whatever 20-30% on tax on that, right? So it's kind of looked at that way, which I think is reasonably fair. Obviously, you, as a taxpayer, you'll say it's high, 30% is high, but then if you think of it, it's just a starting point, right? So they are at a stage where they're just starting off, so they are going to tax at the higher end of the bracket, but over time, maybe there'll probably be lobbies that get created who can kind of argue about some of this and can kind of influence. But at this stage, I think the fact that they've not banned it is definitely a positive. It will definitely spur, I feel, a lot of innovation. A lot more new companies will come up. Like I said, maybe eventually when we do incorporate something like a Creatiers, we kind of will have a better direction on how to do it, and there will be less fear in a sense, because I think, for example, like I said, on the innovation side, right now we probably are trading on DESO on Creatiers, right? So maybe in the future, if you want to stay in line with the regulations of India, we just have to, when the digital rupee launches, so we just have to switch from DESO to digital rupee for anyone kind of working from India, right? So that they get paid in the official legal tender, and they can be within the framework of the regulations. As these regulations become more crystal clear, we can then start adopting that and be in line with making sure that all the people on our platform who are from India, or maybe there'll be different countries that will come up with similar rules. So we can ensure that we give them those options to kind of make the most of the creator economy and stay within the laws of their country, right? So I think that's really quite fascinating, and I think it was definitely a positive move. There's a lot of fear before that, so I think it's definitely a positive move. But to be honest, I've not had enough time to go into depth on those rules and regulations, so I'll probably reserve my detailed thought on that for now.
Absolutely, I totally get it. And to be clear, I was asking this question in a positive way. I meant that we've got really great amount of startups in Web3 from India that are doing our lives much better, like Polygon, as I said before. So now we have gas-free blockchain on Ethereum that allows you to post NFT without gas, and that's something else for sure. And my point is, when it's going to happen, the adoption of cryptocurrency, I think there will be a huge new wave of startups in this field in India for sure. Okay, I'm wondering about your preference in investments. If you had $20 million to invest either in real estate hotel or metaverse game with NFT land plots, what choice would you make?
I am a prudent investor. I'll probably figure out a way to split that money. I wouldn't put everything on the metaverse for now. To be honest, I've kind of been reading up a little bit on the metaverse and gaming and stuff like that. I've not done enough research to date. So if you ask me today, I'll probably put in maybe 20% into the metaverse project, and not 80% into the real estate space. Obviously, it's going to be other things. But then if you have to force me, maybe a 50-50 split between the two, right? So, and over time, maybe shift it from the real to the virtual. But I think at this point, I probably would do a 50-50 split between the two of them. And over time, as the industry matures and maybe shift the money more towards the virtual, because I know virtual land is cheaper now. It's a lot easier to get virtual land because there's not enough people buying it. So maybe it's one of those which you can get a lot of land and become the huge landlord owning half of Bangalore or something like that. So it's one of those, I think.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your very honest answer. I really appreciate it, because there is always a risk that we can meet a person who will say, I'll go 100% to metaverse because of its trend, but he doesn't go to analyze the things. And what you're saying is just very reasonable, and you're showing the principle and the example how people should think and the way of thinking for these kind of things. Let me rephrase the question into a more harder way. If you've got 20 million USD, what investment will you do? There is no restriction, real estate or metaverse.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, my question is, if you had 20 million USD
Uh-huh.
or any other amount of money, considerable amount of money, what investments would you do? Stocks,
Okay, that way.
cryptocurrency?
Anything else? Okay. So I think to be honest, so my current small portfolio. I mean, it's not a whole lot. I don't want any tax authorities coming after me. My very very small portfolio, which again is fully listed, is kind of split between stocks and stocks and mutual funds, quite a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, very very small portion of my crypto is probably in DESO, right? So it's mostly in DESO. Rather, my crypto portfolio is mostly in DESO. But essentially, I think over time I'll probably start increasing the ramp up on crypto, so to say. So if I suddenly got $20 million, obviously I'll put a good percentage, maybe 5-10% on cryptos, right? That's a lot of money. $1 million in cryptos is probably a good thing to start with, right? And then I think the rest of it, I think real estate is good. I don't think I've invested a whole lot in real estate. Uh, so maybe some actual physical assets, right? So and $20 million is a lot of money, Alex. I really would need to. I mean, one thing I try to do is make sure that I ramp up on the. I mean, I generally try and maintain percentages. So I make sure that I have a certain percentage in stock and certain percentage in mutual funds and savings and stuff like that. So if I get an extra lump sum of money, obviously I'll try and keep the ratio kind of similar. So in that sense, I think it'll probably go into all the places where I have money today, and maybe an extra little bit of money on crypto, because crypto is right now down. So it's a good time to invest in cryptos at this point, so that when it doubles, I can reduce it a little bit from 35,000. When it goes to 70,000, I'll maybe dilute a little bit of it. So maybe it's a good thing. So it depends on the timing, I guess.
Yeah, man, and your answer is just showing that you've got this structural mind and you have the structured system that you stick to in your decision-making process. And that's just incredible, man. Thank you for sharing it. Okay, I have a few questions about the DESO, just two. And I think we all knew you in early days of DESO, when you were well known for your analytics about DESO creators and nodes. So I'm curious, analyzing these trends in DESO within the lifetime of it, what tendencies have you noticed, and what's your impression about it?
Yeah, no, I think to be honest, this is a typical innovation hype cycle, right? So any new innovation that comes in, it does go through a big hype, and then there's going to be a dip. And then I think we are at a stage today where I think we are at the lowest point of that dip, probably, right? We have gone from 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 daily active users to about almost 2,000, 2,500. And we are, the way I see it, at least from whatever numbers I've seen in the recent past, right, it is starting to look up, right? As some of these new apps come in and stuff, it is starting to look up. So I think we are at that stage today. And there are reasons for it. Obviously, the way the features were released, like I said, too much focus on NFTs in between hurt a lot of people. A lot of people moved away because of the extreme focus on digital art, right? So a lot of that happened, but it's behind us. So at this stage, I think as some of these other apps get launched, I think we will start seeing a bigger sort of spike. So we are at that stage, right? So from an overall trend perspective, I think we've seen the hype. We've now seen the dip. I think we are now going to ramp up to the next peak, so to say, right? So we are ready for that. And I'm quite excited. I think I've been on the platform, like you said, for almost 8-9 months now. And, it's been quite an exciting journey. It's actually 9 months, I realized. So I joined in April. So it's almost 9 months now. And the baby is about to get delivered, like Mark said. So the baby is about to get delivered. So now it's going to be the next phase of, nurturing that baby to the and growing it to the next day, so to say, right? So it's an exciting time. And I think all of the people who stuck around, I think they need to be recognized, right? So I think a lot of small initiatives are starting off, but the people who stuck around are really what's sustaining this platform. And I think the less, I mean, I can't say it enough, but essentially the people, the 50, 100, 200 people who are actively, communicating, sharing, even doing giveaways, even doing just posting generic content, right? So there was no content on the platform. It wouldn't, in effect, it would become difficult for people like us to build products. Because if you have, for me, like I said, the 50 people who are contributing to my project are what keeps me motivated, right? Especially when there's no money at the end of the month. I think what keeps you motivated is these active users. So a big shout out to all of you guys. And I think you are what the platform is really about. Like, I think the community is really what the platform is about for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. My last question about the DESO. It's a well-known fact that there is a huge number of members from India community, both those who lives in India and those who originates from India. Could you remember some of them on the spot?
I take some names, the others will feel bad. No, I think it's an amazing community. I think it's like I said, if I take some names, the others will feel bad. But obviously, okay, I will still do that, right? So obviously, I think from the developer side, I think Aditya is great. I think he's built a lot of these small bots and tools, and I think he's, for someone who's a 17-year-old kid, I'm in awe of him, right? So for the kind of things he's done, the way he contributes to the conversations, the maturity of the kid, I think I really, I mean, I almost feel like I should adopt him, right? So he's almost about 7 years younger than or 7 years older than my daughter. It's almost like an adopt him, and he's a sweet kid. So Manu is great. I think he's not very active on the thing, but I think he kind of helped with Cloud Punk and a lot of the initial sort of work. And a lot of celebrities did join, but they're not very active today. Ivan Lotha, for example, was one of the early guys who brought in a lot of the people who are still around. I think a lot of them kind of came in because Ivan Lotha came in and did this big Instagram post or whatever, and everyone else followed along because he was the kind of the crypto influencer, so to say, right? So he kind of brought in a lot of people. Who else? I mean, I think there's a lot of people. I mean, obviously on the Indian origin side, I think no one better than Dharmesh, right? So like I said, Dharmesh is a guy who brought me into DESO, even though he's not Indian per se. Maybe he is, I don't know. So, but I think he's obviously amazing. But I think he's the one who's kind of really, if you think of the kind of things he's doing, right? So in terms of suggestions for the core team, the active investments, the suggestions he gives, the critical feedback he gives. He's even building something on DESO right now. You just think of it, right? So a CTO kind of building something on DESO, kind of showing the way, all the bounties that he did. I think it's something that's amazing that he's done. And I think there's a lot of people, I think, who've kind of contributed to the growth of the community. I think there's people like Vaibhav, I think, came onto your show.
Yeah, I know. You could proceed for 30 minutes at least to name everyone.
I know.
Like I said, thank you for sharing these guys, and I'm pretty sure that there was a full list of others that you would name if we had more time for it. Thank you for sharing these guys, for sure. It was more about putting you in a stress situation and trying to remember guys. So you did it pretty well. So it's just now I'm going to ask you some personal questions. It's just for entertainment, relax, and answer whatever you like. What's your favorite place in the country? Where would you take your kids or family for a vacation in India?
Yeah, no, I think they love beaches. My kids totally love beaches, right? You take them to the beach and they'll probably spend the entire day there if you want. And obviously they'll come back from the beach and then they'll sleep for 12 hours. That's a different thing, but they love beaches. So probably Goa's number one on that list, right? So the Goa's a great place. And obviously we have our favorite spots in Goa as well. So that's probably going to be a good space to take. And obviously, I mean, it's quite close to our hometown in Bangalore, Udupi. So in that sense, I think Goa is a good place where I'd definitely love to take them.
Awesome. What's the best way for you to relax from your daily routine?
I think kids' time. To be honest, I think just spending time with kids, just chilling with them, maybe a board game, spending time with them. I think that's what is quite relaxing, especially when like I told you some of the issues that are going on with my current startup. I think the kids, just spending time with them is what really keeps me kind of motivated and relaxed, and just stop thinking about all of that when you're with them, right? I think that's really what keeps me grounded and I guess in a happy space, so to say.
So the best advice that you can give for those who has a lot of stress is just do kids and you'll be fine.
Not a lot of kids. So like everyone asks me when I say 3 kids, oh wow, 3 kids, right? So I'm like, yeah, it was 3, but it's actually 1+2, right? So it was a buy one get one free that came from above. So, but yeah, I mean, you should have kids. I think it's they kind of bring out about a new aspect of you, right? A new sort of personality. They actually they bring out some new things in you, maybe a way to care, a way to nurture. And I think it's definitely an experience that has transformed me, right? So it has helped in growing me as a person. But yeah, I have kids for sure. I don't have about too many kids.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you like cooking?
I haven't done too much cooking in the recent past, to be honest, right? So I had my stint as, and I obviously lived in the US for about 3 years in the early 2000s. So at that time, obviously living as a bachelor, so you had to do a lot of cooking. So at that time, I was experimenting a lot. I think in the recent past, I've not been cooking as much. I try and help occasionally. My wife does say that I should do a lot more of it, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those which I don't do too much of, to be honest.
Awesome. What's your favorite meal?
Favorite what? Sorry.
Meal. What's your favorite meal?
Oh, I love pizza, and it's good that now my kids love it as well. So we try and make sure we do it at least once a week, if not more often. But it's almost become like a weekend thing, right? So for kids, and now that they've kind of started liking it, so it's become like almost like a ritual for us.
Yeah, great, man. Have you ever ridden a bike?
Sorry.
Ridden a bike. Have you ever ride a bike?
Yeah, I do have a bike. I mean, it's not a fancy, sports bike, but I do have a bike, which I do ride. But eventually, someday, I'll probably own a sports bike.
Absolutely. And do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think I probably don't do enough of it, to be honest, again. But yeah, I mean, we've started. I think we've gone on a few long rides on those bikes, and it's fun. It's fun to go out with friends and just be with nature in a sense. I think it's probably something that I should do a lot more of, but I think it's definitely something I enjoy doing.
Thank you so much, Randhir, for all your answers. These are all questions that I had, and I really enjoyed talking to you. It was a pure pleasure.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for everything that you do, and you've been an amazing co-host to Mark. And I think I know, mostly behind the scenes. So do we get to see you today?
I hope so. I will show you after the recording, okay? Because only you can see me behind the curtain.
That's a special privilege I get. Thank you for that.
Maybe Alex, when we get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers, we can do a face reveal like the kids love doing. Awesome.
Yeah, maybe launch an NFT.
Yeah. NFT face reveal. Yeah. There you go. Alex, you can set up a Creatier account, and one of your offers can be you get to spend half an hour with Alex with the video turned on. All right. Thank you so much, Alex. You're a superstar. Randhir, this has been an absolute pleasure. Genuinely, it's been really great to get to know you more. I'm looking forward to, Randhir, as we go. I think we're building real friendships in this community as we're developing this. We're bonding over something very real, a revolution that is happening in the creator economy. And I'm looking forward to when, when we have this time where, we get to visit each other and we get to have our kids play together. And we've got big, long white beaches waiting for you and your family to come play. And I also love motorbikes. So one day, Randy, I hope that you and I, we get to take a ride, whether it's in India, whether it's in Australia, or maybe we just head over to the States and road trip. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. Yeah.
Awesome, Mark.
Excellent. So everyone who's watching, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you, because in the end, if we don't have viewers, we don't have any fun. So thanks for tuning in. Please do make sure you've subscribed to Clout Forum. We'll be doing regular podcasts, bringing out amazing creators like Randhir to your table, to your TV. And make sure to check out creatiers.co. So creatiers.co. I'll put that right here. And check it out. Set up an account if you're not on DESO yet. It works everywhere on the decentralized social environment. You can, all the different apps. Set one up. Check out Creatiers. It's like the Fiverr for this decentralized world. So everyone has something to offer to the world, and we just have to connect to the person that it fits. And that's what Randhir is doing with his team, with Creatiers, is creating a platform that helps connect your magic to the people that want it and take the middleman out of the game. And so thank you, Randhir, for that. Thanks, everyone watching. Please throw some comments underneath, share it with your communities. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you'd like to know more. If you have any questions for Randhir, get in touch with him. He's an incredible man. And yeah, thanks again, Randhir. Thanks, Alex. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Okay.